Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the Chairman and CEO of Discover Financial Services and Chairman of the Junior Achievement of Chicago Board, Mr. David Nelms.
Good evening. On behalf of Junior Achievement, we welcome all of you to the 32nd Annual Chicago Business Hall of Fame. We're delighted that you've joined us tonight to recognize 3 individuals who have made significant and lasting contributions to the Chicago business community. Junior Achievement's purpose is to inspire and prepare young people to succeed in the global economy. Our programs help students see the connection between what they learn in school and its applicability to business. I'm happy to report that Junior Achievement of Chicago is having its 75th anniversary this year and will reach over 500,000 students within our 12-county franchise area. I'd like to thank each of you for your continued support of this mission. I'd also like to thank our sponsors this evening. We've had tremendous support from our evening sponsors. In fact, we have a record number of them. And rather than read through all the names, I'd like to direct your attention to the screen. You can see we have some great and broad support. We're also indebted to our platinum, gold, and silver sponsors, all of whom are listed in your program book. We simply couldn't do it without the generous support of JA sponsors who make it possible to inspire our youth to dream big and reach their potential. Let's all give a round of applause to our great sponsors. Supporting the work of Junior Achievement has never been more urgent or more important than it is today. Everywhere we turn, we continually hear concern about the very issues that JA focuses on: youth development, workforce readiness, financial literacy, and the importance of staying in and completing school. Addressing these issues is critical for our children and for the future success of our free market system. So thank you for being here tonight to support such a worthy cause. If you haven't taught a JA program yet, please join the over 12,000 of your peers who will volunteer for JA in classrooms this year throughout the Chicago area. I guarantee that by doing so, you will have made an impact on a student's life, many students' lives, and truly make a difference. I also have to give a special thanks to our blue ribbon panel of former laureates, chaired by Jim Farrell, who, as always, did an outstanding job with the selection process. The 3 individuals being honored will be introduced formally later, but I have to emphasize my personal excitement from having worked directly with each of these 3 myself. Eileen Gordon and I worked together leading the board of the Chicago Executives Club, which allowed me to see her in action, leading a great international company, giving back to the community, and serving as a role model, especially to women, as the nation's companies seek to attract more women into CEO roles. Phil Purcell accomplished much in his career, but most notable to me was that he started Discover from scratch in 1986 and set a course for the startup to become what it is today. a $30 billion market cap Fortune 500 company with 14,500 employees. It made a huge difference to me and employees and customers. Finally, Norm Wesley was chairman of the board of Junior Achievement of Chicago when I first joined the board and the executive committees, and it was inspirational for me to see Norm directly give back through JA, even as he ran a very large and successful Chicago-based company. We should all be inspired by the examples of the outstanding leadership of these three great nominees. As we begin our award ceremony, I'd like to introduce our MC for the evening, Nancy Liu. Nancy is an Emmy Award-winning journalist who joined WGN-TV as a reporter and fill-in anchor in 2010. Nancy earned a bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism at the University of Oregon, and she has an extensive background of international reporting, having worked as a reporter and anchor in Hong Kong, Tokyo, New York, and Chicago. We're excited to have her with us this evening as we recognize these great honorees. Please join me in welcoming Nancy Liu.
Good evening, everybody. I am absolutely thrilled to be here tonight for the 32nd year of the Chicago Business Hall of Fame. Tonight, we share the stories of three exceptional new laureates, Ms. Eileen S. Gordon. Feel free to clap. Come on. We also have Philip J. Purcell and Norman H. Wesley. You will be hearing a lot more about these three very special individuals this evening. This is such a special group, not only because of the imprint they have made on the Chicagoland area, but also because of the lessons they can teach us about setting goals, being a business pioneer, and achievement through teamwork. We are lucky this evening to have the opportunity to hear their own personal philosophies on success and advice for future generations, which I think is a good cue to give a shout out to my new friends from Hester Junior High. Junior achievers who are here tonight and take advantage of the wonderful programs offered by JA. The slideshow playing as you enter tonight showcase the former honorees of the Chicago Business Hall of Fame. This evening is a tribute to all they have done to help create Chicago's history and to make it such a great place to conduct business. JA has been honoring the most distinguished business leaders of Chicago since 1983, and I am pleased to see former inductees here with us tonight to support the new class of 2014. So let's give a hand to our former inductees. JA of Chicago has provided 162 laureates with the honor of being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and their stories are accessible at the permanent learning exhibit at the Museum of Science and Industry. It is a unique display of our great honorees, so make sure to stop by during your next visit. We have three very talented young speakers here to tell each laureate's story this evening. Each student was specifically chosen as a model of ambition and achievement, mirroring the images of who will be inducting tonight. And now, it is time to bring out our first speaker. She's fabulous, Paola Padilla, to tell us the story of Ms. Eileen Gordon. I want to tell you about Paola. She is a 6th grader at Otis P. Graves Elementary School. She has loved having the opportunity to participate in junior achievement at her school for the last 2 years. In those past 2 years, she has learned about worldwide business and how she can use her own skills to become an entrepreneur someday. Paola is an incredible student. I've told her numerous times that I love that she's a former spelling bee champ, because I am too. And it was my love for words and writing and reading that led me to become a journalist. But she also loves math and science, which is fabulous. She's in a book club. She enjoys discussing books with all of her peers. Paola, she hopes to make the soccer team this year, and we hope she does too. Outside of school, she enjoys dance, music, and even more reading, because you never stop reading. Her favorite subjects in school are math and science, as I mentioned. In college, Paola would like to major in something related to math and science in hopes of getting a career that allows her to use those skills on a daily basis to help others. So enough about me talking about her. Let's hear from Paola Padilla.
Thank you, Nancy. I am honored to introduce Ms. Aine Gordon, Chairman and CEO of Ingredion Incorporated. Ingredion is a global Fortune 500 company based in Worcestershire. They make ingredients used in foods, beverages, drugs, paper, and other products. Ms. Gordon was born and raised in Newtown, Massachusetts, a suburb of Boston. As a young student, she was very good at math. She was encouraged to apply her skills at an early age. Her father, an accountant, would bring home spreadsheets for her to work on. Ms. Gordon has always been proactive. In junior high school, she convinced the school principal that she should take shop class rather than home ec. In those days, she was the only girl in shop class. She went on to study math at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. While at MIT, Ms. Gordon learned to solve more than math problems. She wanted to work part-time in the school's alumni office. The hours were too much given her demanding class schedule. So Ms. Gordon proposed that she and her roommates split the hours. She was definitely ahead of her time with a job-sharing approach. At first, Ms. Gordon planned on being a teacher. She spent one summer teaching computers to high school students. After that, she decided that a career in business would be a better plan. So she went to MIT's Sloan School of Management and earned a master's degree in management. Ms. Gordon began her career at the Boston Consulting Group as a strategy consultant. She started in the Boston office, but when an assignment in London opened up, she quickly volunteered. She met her husband, Bram Bluestein, at BCG. After their wedding, they were relocated to Chicago to open the firm's first office in the Midwest. From BCG, Mrs. Gordon joined the packaging industry. She spent 17 years at the Packaging Corporation of America, a division of Tenneco Inc. There, Ms. Gordon rose to become vice president and general manager of the folding carton business, and she became Tenneco's first female officer. She then spent 10 years at Rio Tinto Alcan. She started as a senior vice president of Pekini Plastic Packaging Group. In 2007, she was promoted to president and CEO of the Alcan Packaging Group. She was in charge of the $6.5 billion global packaging business. The job was in Paris, France, but Ms. Gordon's family was in Chicago and she didn't want to move them. So she decided to take the job and commute from Chicago to Paris for a couple of years. Mrs. Gordon had always wanted to be a CEO, and she achieved her ultimate career goal in 2009. She became chairman, president, and CEO of Ingredion. The company has thrived under her leadership. Since she joined, the stock price has tripled and sales have grown significantly to over $6 billion. Ms. Gordon is an expert corporate director. In addition to Ingredion, she serves on the board of International Paper. In the past, she has been a director of 5 public companies. She was the first female director of each. Ms. Gordon has been recognized for her achievements. She received 2013 Director of the Year Award from the National Association of Corporate Directors, and she is on Fortune's list of most powerful women in business. Ms. Gordon is a passionate advocate of women in STEM careers, and Ingredion is a legacy sponsor of Girls for Science. It's a local group for young girls. They learn about STEM careers and are encouraged to study STEM subjects. Thanks to Ingredion's support, Girls for Science has sent several students to summer space camp. They learn about what it takes to be an astronaut. Ms. Gordon and Ingredion are also a strong supporter of my school, Graves Elementary, where their junior achievement volunteers come to our classes and teach us about business and entrepreneurship. Ms. Gordon lives in Chicago and is an active member of the community. She is the director of Northwestern Memorial Healthcare and World Business Chicago, and a member of the board of the Economic Club of Chicago, the Executives Club of Chicago, and the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. Ms. Gordon and her husband Bram, a management consultant, have been married for over 30 years. They raised their 2 adult children, Andrew and Emily, in the Chicago area. Their family remains close. They are all here with us tonight. Ms. Gordon's son and daughter-in-law are expecting a baby girl this month. Ms. Gordon is hoping to be her STEM role model, like her father was to her. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Eileen Gordon.
Wow, that's a great award, and thank you all for being here. It's really quite a moment to think about this. And as you saw from the slides, my husband and I actually came to Chicago 35 years ago, and to be here today, it's really quite something all these years. But I want to thank Paola for that flattering introduction, and you really did a fantastic job. And you know, I told Paola, and I mentioned to the Junior Achievement people when we talked about this over the summer, I said, I really want you to find a fabulous young woman who is smart and very focused and loves math and science to introduce me. So that was my condition, and they really met every one of those conditions. And Paola, I'm sure your parents, who I've met and are here tonight, and your brother, could not be more proud of you. So I say this is the beginning of your, I think, CEO career. So I'm really grateful and humbled to be inducted into the Junior Achievement Business Hall of Fame. And it's truly an honor to be included among the ranks of these impressive business leaders, from Henry Crown and Ray Kroc to Sheila Penrose and Deb DeHaas. In fact, I said, you know, I'm really not old enough to be in a Hall of Fame, but they told me I was. But many thanks to those who nominated me, and the Junior Achievement Executive Committee, and the past laureates who selected me. And really, congratulations to my fellow laureates, Norm and Phil. It's really quite a night. And I'm really delighted that so many of my friends and colleagues and business partners and in my family are here to celebrate with me. I'm really most appreciative that you all came out tonight. And I'm really touched by everybody's support. Now, as Paola told you, as a young student, I was really inspired by my parents, who, by the way, are still alive and constantly calling me and asking me, you know, what I'm working on and what I'm achieving. And they really encouraged me to pursue my passion in math, which became evident about the same age as Paola. So I think it was about 5th or 6th grade that I felt that I had a strength there, and everybody encouraged me. And my parents showed me how my classroom education could be applied to practical business situations. So we always talked about that in the car, wherever we were going. And they instilled in the confidence to me to reach for the stars. And they always said, you can do it, just go for it. Now, unfortunately, not all young students have such wonderful role models as I did. And that's why Junior Achievement is so valuable, and we're very impressed with the programs. It's the Junior Achievement volunteers who help students connect the dots from the classroom to the workplace. And that makes all the difference. So with programs for students at all levels, Junior Achievement really does live up to its mission to inspire and prepare young people to succeed in the global economy. And I must say that I've been impressed and enjoyed meeting all the Junior Achievement students that are here tonight. They've really been such finesse and capability to really communicate is really very impressive. So in keeping with the mission of the organization, I'd like to offer some advice to the students who are here tonight and the young professionals that are in the audience. I can't help myself. So first of all, my advice always is to have a plan. And even people at Ingredion, they hear me talk about this. So it's not just for young people, it's for everybody. And you might know what you want to do, but you need a plan to get there. And since things don't always work out, my advice is always have a backup plan and a backup to the backup plan, because you never know what's going to happen and you want to achieve your goals. But developing a plan takes some thought, but it's an important roadmap to your future. So my second piece of advice is to stay in school and get an education. And I even say this to business people, that you can always continue to develop your skills. And of course, you can't go wrong with a STEM degree, that is science, technology, engineering, or math. I'm a little biased, but it's a great training for anything that you want to do. And jobs in the STEM field, the science and technology, are growing really fast. And these jobs typically pay better. So the experts predict that in the future there won't be enough qualified people to fill all these STEM roles. So you'll have lots of job choices. So that's my advice to the young people. Get a degree and excellence in high school and college in the STEM area. Now my third piece of advice is don't be afraid to take risks. And I have to, again, commend Paola for being willing to take the risk to be up here tonight. I was talking with a few young students who went to this space camp in Alabama that our company sent them. And we, as you saw in the photo, we were talking about this about a month ago. And they flew from Chicago, and it was the first time they were on a plane without their parents. And they told me they were very nervous. But they took the risk, and when they got to space camp, they were very proud of themselves, so they felt they had accomplished something. So if you're not willing to take the risks, and I've taken many in my career, and I must say that I've had great support people around me, including my husband, who said, you can do it, you'll figure it out. You'll miss out on great opportunities. So when Alcan asked me would I be willing to be CEO in Paris, I actually tell the story that I said no. And my husband said, what are you, crazy? You'll figure it out. So you'll commute. You know, we'll work, we'll support you. And I took the risk, and I figured it out, and it was very successful. Now, finally, I have one more piece of advice for our young people today, and that is to have a mentor. Somebody who gives you advice and guidance. Maybe right now it's your parents. It could be an older sibling. It could be a teacher. It could be somebody else in the community. But I'll tell you that all successful leaders have mentors, and I continue to have mentors in everything that I do. So it's not just for young people, it's for people throughout their career. And the interesting thing about mentors is they can see things in ways that we sometimes miss. And they won't accept excuses. And they'll see through any insecurities, and they'll push you. And that's what you want to be. You want to be pushed to stretch. And Ingredion is proud to be a long-term supporter of junior achievement, and I'm very excited that our people at Ingredion teach classes and participate in the different possibilities. And it's my hope that the students here tonight will continue to be inspired by the role models that they meet through junior achievement, not just through Ingredion, but everywhere. So again, thanks again for this great honor and a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Congratulations, Eileen. I need a backup plan. Just kidding. I've had wonderful mentors too, and such great advice from Eileen. Everybody in the audience obviously can relate to it. Our second student presenter tonight is Dion Green, who will introduce Mr. Phil Purcell. Dion is a junior at Christ the King College Preparatory High School. He is also a member of the Common Ground Foundation, where he has participated in junior achievement during summer camp the last 2 years. It is through JA and his finance class that Dion is learning about how money management is key to being successful. Dion is very active in his school. He is part of the STEP team, and he plays baseball and football, and to top it off, he is a 2-time regional champ in Taekwondo. Good thing he's my friend now. In school, Dion's favorite subjects are music and performing arts. He hopes to go to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy upon graduation. In his first debut, please welcome to the stage, Dion Green.
Thank you, Nancy. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce Mr. Philip Purcell. He has been a leader in the financial service industry for more than 30 years. He is known for his strategic insights and his ability to achieve his vision and grow businesses. Wall Street is not always easy. There were days midway through his career that Mr. Purcell had particularly tough days, but he has always been resilient. Mr. Purcell was born in Salt Lake City, Utah in 1943. As you can see from this early family photo, his parents, his older sister, and his younger brother are very attractive. Even young Philip there on the right doesn't look too bad. He attended Judge Memorial, a small Catholic parochial school in Salt Lake City. Back then, the building needed a little work. It looked something like out of a Harry Potter novel. Luckily for one of our honorees tonight, Norm Wesley, who also went to Judge Memorial, the building later received an upgrade into the 20th century. Mr. Purcell was a star center on the basketball team and started tackle on the state championship football team. When he wasn't busy with his studies or sports, Mr. Purcell worked during the school year selling magazine subscriptions and pressing clothes at a dry cleaner. It was at Judge that Mr. Purcell met his future wife, Ann McNamara, the daughter of an Irish immigrant. At the junior prom, Phil wore a spiffy bow tie and Ann had a dress with a great skirt. Mr. Purcell won a scholarship to Holy Cross in Massachusetts, and after freshman year transferred to Notre Dame, where he had a distinguished academic career. He later won a graduate fellowship to the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, and then to the London School of Economics. He began his business career in 1967 at McKinsey & Co., the international management consulting firm, and rose to managing director and head of the Chicago office. He joined Sears in 1978 and played a major role in the acquisition of Dean Witter Reynolds in 1981. He later became chairman and CEO of Dean Witter. This is a photo of Mr. Purcell and Ann at a Dean Witter Chairman's Club dinner. They look exactly the same as they did 30 years earlier at the junior prom. Except the style of clothing has changed. At Dean Witter, he saw the potential for the asset management business well before many others on Wall Street, and he started the Discover card from scratch in 1986. By 2006, Discover had grown to more than 50 million accounts and more than 1.5 billion in pre-tax profits. Mr. Purcell was the architect of Dean Witter Discover acquisition of Morgan Stanley in 1997. Under his leadership, Morgan Stanley achieved the highest competitive rankings in its history. In one key measure of success, investors who bought the stock just after the merger gained 3 times the original value 8 years later. Mr. Purcell was at the helm of Morgan Stanley on September 11, 2001, when terrorists hijacked planes hit the World Trade Center, where 3,500 Morgan Stanley employees worked. Contingency plans were in place that helped mitigate the terrible tragedy. Morgan Stanley employees helped save the lives of many fellow employees and others. He served on the executive board and as vice chairman of the New York Stock Exchange. He has also been actively involved in parochial school education, multiple sclerosis research, multiple myeloma research, and children's health care. He has often worked closely with his brother Paul and his sister Patrice, who are both on the Junior Achievement Board. He has been a trustee at Notre Dame since 1991. Notre Dame's new facility for basketball, other indoor sports, and commencement is named after him. He and Ann have 7 sons and 23 grandchildren. As you can see from the hats, he is not forgetting that he grew up in the American West. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Phil Purcell.
How about that impressive young man? Your parents have a lot to be proud of, Dion, and if you're looking for internships, call my number and I'll introduce you to everybody I know. Thank you, and I'm very honored to be here tonight in this great organization with all of you people who have supported it so long, and for the kids who make it what it is. Quite different, though, than Eileen. She's not old enough to be honored like this, and I am. As a matter of fact, my friends, some of whom showed up tonight, have said it's only fitting that at the Chicago Historical Museum that they would honor a relic. One thing I'm sure of, by the way, is, Dion, that Christ the King High School looks a lot better than the one I went to. When I first heard from David Nelms that this event would be taking place, I was absolutely convinced he had the wrong Purcell, because there are 2 who deserve this award, my sister Patrice and my brother Paul, both of whom are on the board. The only one in our family who doesn't deserve it is me, and I'm the one that ends up getting it, but I'm very proud to receive it, and proud of the town that all of you represent and that we have lived in for so long. The thoughts that I would share with you very briefly, and especially with younger people, is not advice. I'm kind of beyond all that, but things that meant something to me when I was young, learning about leadership. I think JA is all about leadership, all about working with others, all about accomplishing things in the private enterprise world. And when I was very, very young, I learned a great lesson, and that was I was talking to an older gentleman, not as old as I am, but older. And he had a business where he picked partners and put them in the real estate business all over the country, and they all became millionaires. So I had the occasion to be talking with him, and I was about the right age, so I said, well, Mr. Crow, how is it that you pick your partners? Because you're the one who has all the experience, and you pick these partners all over the country, and they end up being terribly successful like yourself. And I said, do you pick people with real estate experience? And he said, oh, absolutely not. No real estate experience. Anything they've learned is wrong compared to the way I do it, so I only pick people with no experience. I said, that's good. I said, about what age do you pick them? And he said, well, 30 to 32. You know, they've been around, learned a little bit, but still can learn. And that was great for me because I was about 30 at the time, and so I thought I had no real estate experience. I was 30 years old. There was no telling what might come out of this conversation. So I said, well, how do you pick these people? And he said, oh, it's really very simple. I pick people that other people will want to be successful, which is it's kind of a tongue twister, but it's very, very interesting because for all of us, I think that is the key to success. It is others who make us successful. We don't make ourselves successful. And people make other people successful that they want to be successful. So I always remembered that, thought it was very important. And I know when we started Discover Card, we picked all kinds of people who we thought other people would want to be successful. And there are a number of them here tonight. We call them the Dawners because our first ad was a sunrise on a TV ad, so we called ourselves the Dawners because it was dawn for Discover. And all of them were picked with that criteria in mind, and it worked. So it was one of the key things I learned as a young person and like to share with others. The other thing that, and David Nelms, who you all saw earlier tonight, we picked to be the second CEO of Discover, and he is that kind of person too. So it's a formula that works, and you heard it first from me. The similar to that, when I was at McKinsey, they had all kinds, which is a consulting firm, and they stress interview all kinds of very talented people and probe their analytics, probe their problem solving, probe their verbal skills. They do all this stuff, and at the end of the day, you fill out a 4-page interview form. And it turns out that the part of the form that's predictive of success is the answer to the question, do you like this person? All of the other stuff is important, but it doesn't differentiate who does well. So in my life, there's a real pattern to what kind of person you want to be if you want to lead others. And I'll close. I'm not particularly fond of the French, but Napoleon Napoleon is an exception for me. But when they asked him how he picked generals, and he was exceptional at doing it, they said, how do you pick generals? He says, well, I pick the lucky ones. And what he's saying there is he wants to pick generals that have stick-to-itiveness, that have commitment, and that have people who want to follow him under the worst of circumstances. And so even Napoleon got it right in terms of what's important in picking people. So thank you very much for the honor. It's a great being here. And thank you, Dion.
We have another exceptional young person to introduce now. Our final student presenter is Olivia Sconyers, who will be introducing Norman Wesley. Olivia is a 7th grader at Glenwood Academy. She is very active in her school, of course, where she's a cheerleader and also works as a student assistant in her free time. She also plays the clarinet. Last year, volunteers came to Olivia's class to teach her and classmates about Junior Achievement's economic programs. She and her classmates learned about stocks and bonds, as well as trade in different countries. She enjoyed the experience a great deal because she knew she would use what she learned later on in life. Olivia's favorite subjects are math and science. Last year, she won the science fair with her experiment on how hand sanitizer affects bacteria growth. Olivia is studying hard in hopes to attend Walter Payton College Prep for high school. She then aspires to go on to Harvard and become a psychologist. So, let's welcome to the stage Olivia Sconyers.
Thank you, Nancy. It is an honor for me to introduce Mr. Norm Wesley, former chairman and CEO of Fortune Brands. Mr. Wesley was born in Alabama along with his 4 sisters. After moving around due to his father's job, the family settled in Salt Lake City, where Mr. Wesley attended Judge Memorial High School. Mr. Wesley was active in sports of all kinds while attending Judge. And as the only boy of 4 sisters, Mr. Wesley learned to be domesticated at an early age. In 1968, Mr. Wesley attended the University of Utah, where he spent his summers and weekends working to finance his education. He obtained an undergraduate degree in finance and a master in business administration. It was through this rewarding experience that Mr. Wesley realized the importance of education and the foundation it provides. It was through this, upon graduation, Mr. Wesley started working for Zillerbach Paper Company in Salt Lake City. He was later transferred to San Francisco, where he held various leadership positions. In 1977, Mr. Wesley met his wife, Kim. Mr. Wesley remained in the Bay Area running the office products company until he was recruited by ACCO Brands to move across the country to Chicago. Although Mr. Wesley liked living in San Francisco, he was excited to raise his family in Chicago. Mr. Wesley became president and CEO of ACCO and continued with the company as it was bought by American Brands, which later became Fortune Brands. It was there at Fortune Brands that Mr. Wesley truly built a legacy. Mr. Wesley was chairman and CEO of Fortune Brands for almost a decade and led a team that increased Fortune's business from $4.5 billion to $9 billion. Leading a diversified company that carried products ranging from home building materials to spirits to golf products, Mr. Wesley truly had found a fantastic place to spend the rest of his career. During his tenure at Fortune Brands, Mr. Wesley accredits much of his success to teamwork. He found that there was also always something to learn from the people he worked for, the people he worked with, and the people who worked for him. In 2008, Mr. Wesley retired from Fortune Brands, but continued on the board until the company was split up in 2011. Since his retirement, Mr. Wesley is enjoying spending more time with his family. He has 4 daughters and 2 beautiful grandchildren, Sydney and Norman. In addition, Mr. Wesley has been active with the Lake Forest Academy Board of Trustees, the City of Hope Office Products Executive Committee, the Civic Committee of Chicago, and United Way. He is currently on the Executive Committee of Junior Achievement of Chicago, the University of Utah Business Advisors Board, and is on the Board of Trustees at my school, Glenwood Academy. Mr. Wesley also serves as chairman and board member of Keurig Green Mountain and sits on the boards of Acuity Brands and Fortune Brands Home Security. Through his lifelong devotion to youth-focused philanthropy, Mr. Wesley has been recognized with the City of Hope Spirit of Life Award, the Anti-Defamation League Torch of Liberty Award, Boy Scouts of America Good Scout Award, and the University of Utah Distinguished Alumni Award. It is my privilege today to welcome Mr. Norman H. Wesley to the stage.
I just want you all to know that those glasses are coming back. You'll see, just stick with me. Now, good evening, everybody, and thank you, Olivia, for such a warm introduction. Kim and I have been involved with Glenwood Academy for over 25 years. And as you see and listen to Olivia, it helps you understand why. Olivia, it was so meaningful for us to have you be the one to introduce us, and we couldn't be prouder of you. Let me also congratulate both Eileen and Phil, as they are both successful leaders who really embody what JA is all about. I think as Phil already mentioned, or it's been mentioned, Phil and I went to the same high school, although we were a few years apart. When I look at Phil's success, I sort of wondered what happened to me. Same school, same curriculum, same teachers. So I called the school to complain. And what I was told, and Paul, who's Phil's brother Paul's here, I'm sure this is no surprise to you, but they told me that it was so difficult to get Phil and his hoodlum friends through graduation that they exhausted every resource the school had and that it took years to recover. Quite frankly, they said they just had nothing left for me. So, first of all, let me thank all of you tonight for your support of junior achievement. I think it was mentioned earlier, I was privileged to be the chairman of the executive committee for 4 years. And in that time, I saw firsthand the important work that JA does for all of our children in Chicago. Teaching our children about the free enterprise system is largely carried out by volunteers. And you don't hear much about this, but from all the companies in Chicago, they give their employees both time and they provide the financial support so that we can reach over 500,000 students in the Chicago area. So it's a great credit to the Chicago business community. The program is meant to give kids like Olivia the inspiration to dream about attending Harvard, but then more importantly, to own their own success. And I'm sure Olivia is going to do that. And just to one-up Phil, Olivia, if you get into Harvard, you call me and I'll raise the money for anything that you don't have in terms of a scholarship. And I mean that. I mentioned, team, and I really believe that that's fundamental, or has been fundamental, not only to junior achievement success, but it's also been important to all of our careers as well. It was said earlier, but I truly believe that my own career benefited from working with an incredible team at Fortune, and a number of those are here tonight. I learned from all of them, not just the ones I worked with or worked for, but mostly from those I worked with and those that worked for me. And I think learning comes from many, many different areas. I also benefited from being a part of our own Wesley team, that although I'm not the CEO, and that became clear at a young age when a couple of my daughters came up and asked if they could do something, and I said, sure. And they said, well, have you asked Mom? And I said, she's not the boss of me. I don't have to ask her. And they said, ask Mom. So in closing tonight, I'd like to just thank the entire JA community for allowing me to represent them tonight. There is nothing more important, as far as I'm concerned, than the work that you and all of us here tonight do, and that's to positively influence the lives, the dreams, and the aspirations of our Chicago children. Thank you all very much.
Congratulations, Norm. And wow, what a gesture. Olivia, I can't wait to hear about your adventures at Harvard. Tonight, we celebrated those leaders who have left an indelible mark on the history of our city and changed it for the better. We have also had the chance to look at those leaders through the eyes of our future, today's students. So, we'd like to thank our 3 student speakers for their talented and enthusiastic storytelling The three of you helped to paint a picture of each laureate's life. Let's give them a big hand, because on a personal, they did an incredible job. And it takes a lot to stand up here behind a podium speaking to all of you under this interrogation lighting. So, big hand for those kids. Great job. And let's also hear it for the student ambassadors from Hester Junior High School. It's in Franklin Park. They've been great, and hopefully you've had a chance to meet with them. They were practicing their networking skills and sharing their future aspirations. I know I got a chance to meet with a lot. They are so impressive. So if you haven't had a chance to speak with any of the Hester kids, make sure you do. They are fantastic. They are amazing entrepreneurs. They are future doctors. They are future performers. They have, and a future astronaut in there and a future engineer. So make sure you meet them. The Hester students have been a part of this event for over 11 years. The students on stage tonight and those we have met throughout the evening are perfect examples of how bright our future is and how we must continue the mission to educate our students about the opportunities in our free enterprise system. Just look where our youth can go and what they can achieve if we give them the tools to succeed. I hope we all feel empowered to make a difference in the lives of our youth. By being here tonight, you are all helping to build the future. Your support of this event shows that you believe in the power of education and the power of junior achievement. Let's hear another round of applause for our laureates and our inductees into the 2014 Chicago Business Hall of Fame, Eileen Gordon, Philip Purcell, and Norman Wesley. Thank you to the generosity of our laureates and their families and our other major event sponsors, ACCO Brands, Beam Suntory, Bruce and Kathy Carbonari Foundation, Discover Financial Services, the Duchossois Group, Fortune Brands Home and Security, Ingredient Incorporated, Illinois Tool Works, JP Morgan Chase, McNamara Purcell Foundation, Molex Incorporated, Robert W. Baird and Company, and Norman Kim Wesley. Thank you. We also have to thank the platinum, gold, and silver sponsors as well as our individual ticket holders who are here tonight. You can see them all listed in this evening's program book. And finally, a very special thanks for every single one of you who is here tonight to support this event. Family members, absolutely everyone, thank you. Yeah, you can clap for yourself. You can personally meet our laureates and their families at the dessert reception outside of the auditorium in the Wrigley Gallery immediately following this program, which is right now. So thank you again, everybody, for your support. Have a great night, and congratulations again to our 2014 laureates.